This is moment before the walk number one, the night before the Berlin Wall fell. There's a version of history that arrives already polished. People on walls, champagne bottles breaking open, strangers hanging beneath television lights. A clean ending, neatly labeled. That's not this version. This is the night before. Berlin, late evening, November 1989, the 8th to be exact. Does not feel victorious. Feels uncertain, careful, taut in places you can't quite put a point to. The wall still stands. Concrete slabs cut the city in half like an old wound that never learned how to heal. Floodlights hum. Watchtowers remain alert. Guards pace their routes the way they have every night before this one. Boots measured, faces neutral, fingers resting near weapons they pray they won't have to use. From a distance, everything looks normal, and that's the problem. Apartments glow softly behind drawn curtains. Radios murmur. Dinner dishes are stacked and rinsed. People go through the motions of an everyday evening because history rarely announces itself as such. It prefers to arrive disguised as routine. This is where we begin. On this night, no one believes the wall is about to fall. Not officially. Not really. Most East Berliners assume tomorrow will resemble yesterday. Another confusing statement from the government. Another half opening, half denial. Another reminder that freedom is something discussed in theory, but denied in practice. See, they've learned over decades not to trust sudden hope. And so the city waits. Guards wait for orders that never quite come. Families wait for clarity that never quite arrives. Officials wait for someone else to decide what they are unwilling to decide for themselves. Earlier that evening, a press conference took place. Words were spoken, notes were shuffled, a sentence delivered poorly, without emphasis, without warning. Immediately, the official said, though he didn't fully understand what he'd just authorized. But the weight of that word is not yet landed. Not here, not yet. Because history doesn't move at the speed of headlines. It moves at the speed of belief. And belief, tonight, is still catching up. At border crossings, radios crackle. Guards glance at one another. Phones ring and ring without answers. The rule book offers no guidance for what happens when authority hesitates. The wall was built to be permanent. Permanent structures do not come with instructions for removal. And so nothing happens at first, which is where the danger lives. This moment is not loud, it's fragile. Every person involved understands instinctively what's at stake. If the guards open the gates too early, they risk court-martial, prison, worse. If they keep them closed too long, they risk violence, panic, blood on pavement. No one wants to be the one who fires the first shot of a history that's trying very hard not to become one. Parents sit in their kitchens listening to the radio, unsure whether to wake their children or let them sleep through another disappointment. Friends debate whether to go out, whether this rumor is different from the others, whether hope is worth the risk of being wrong again. Some people walk toward the wall, not in celebration, yet in curiosity, in disbelief. They bring nothing with them, no flags, no tools, just coats pulled tight and questions they're afraid to ask out loud. Because if this is a mistake, if nothing changes, they will have to walk home carrying hope back where it came from. And that can be harder than never hoping at all. See, this is the human weight of the night. History books will later describe inevitability, momentum, the fall of an empire already in motion. But on this night, it doesn't feel inevitable. It feels like a misunderstanding that could still turn dangerous. It feels like a sentence hanging in the air, unfinished. Guards grip rifles not because they want to use them, but because they don't know who they are without the rules that they've always followed. Citizens approach barriers not because they're brave, but because they're tired, tired of waiting, tired of silence, tired of living inside a divided map. Everyone senses that something is slipping. Authority is dissolving quietly, not with the shout, but with the pause, a delay, a refusal to act decisively in either direction. And that is what actually breaks the wall. Not hammers, not force, hesitation. This is why the walk begins here. Not at midnights when crowds swell, not when concrete cracks, not when cameras arrive. It begins in the hours when nothing has changed and everything is about to. It begins when power still believes it exists, but no longer knows how to prove it. This walk listens for the sounds history makes before it moves. The shuffle of boots without orders, the murmur of voices unsure whether to trust themselves, the breath held collectively by a city that doesn't yet know it's about to exhale. Because walls do not fall when they are pushed. They fall when no one is willing to defend them anymore. This is the night before the wall fell, and it matters because history does not change when people celebrate. It changes when they hesitate.